Salvete omnes. Welcome back to the AP Latin live stream. We're so excited that you have joined us today. I'm here with my friend, as usual, Ben Johnson.
Salve, Jenny. Salvete omnes. I think we're going to try to mix it up a little bit today, aren't we, Jenny?
Yeah, we're headed back to the Aeneid, which is exciting
Awesome.
for
Yeah.
all of us who are Aeneid lovers. And we're going to start today with a Kahoot. So everybody should get out their devices and get ready for this one.
Okay. Change things up.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll maybe try for a little bit of Kahoot music. Hopefully it won't get too loud. And if you guys want to pull out your devices, the game pin is a long one. Noem, quinque, tres, sex, quatuor, septem, quinque. I hope I said all those numbers right. I just had like a little bit of a moment.
Quinque, tres, sex, quatuor, septem.
Septem, quinque. Yeah.
There we go.
So head on to www.kahoot.it. And your game pin is 953645.
I don't think they were ready. I think that they were kind of sitting back, just kind of.
They had no idea that this
waiting
Kahoot
for the
was,
first 35 minutes.
Yes, coming first thing today. So yeah, you may be wondering, well, why start out with a Kahoot? Well, partly because we're reviewing. So we're going to see what you remember here at the very beginning of our session. And partly because one of the things that we are testing you on with this Kahoot are the events of book 1 of the Aeneid throughout the book. So remember, you're responsible for reading the entirety of Aeneid book 1 in English and knowing in detail what happens there. So we're going to see how well they can remember that. And remember, even once we've started, you can still join in with that pin, noem quinque tres, sex quatuor, septem quinque.
I think a whole lot of people coming in right now. A little people late to class.
I know.
Party slips.
Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness, I had some people late to my class this morning. Okay. All right. So in book 1 of the Aeneid, we learn all about, and we're going to be reviewing today, why Juno hates Aeneas. So she has a lot of reasons, doesn't she, Ben?
She does, and there's actually more here than there's more than that's listed here.
Oh, so. Yeah, no, I had to narrow it down because there's really only 4 choices on Kahoot. One of these is not a reason that Juno hates Aeneas.
But it might still be true, though, right? It might still be true.
It's just not a reason. It could be true, but it's not one of the reasons that Virgil gives that Juno hates Aeneas. So we're picking the one that's not true, which, these kinds of questions where you have to pick like what's not true are really kind of tricky and hard, and we know that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So we wouldn't normally do this. All right. So if you're reading through the options, we just have a few seconds left. So hopefully people are getting their answers in quickly. Tres, duo, unus. Here we go. All right.
Okay.
So just a reminder, if you're just coming in, if you're a little late to class today, you can go to kahoot.it and use the game pin at the bottom of the page to still join the game, 953645. So Virgil gives us
9536475. 9536475.
I told you.
9536475.
I'm struggling with that long number today. All right. She is worried that his people will one day destroy Carthage. So that is a reason she hates Aeneas. Jupiter did replace the cupbearer of the gods, who happened to be her daughter, Hebe.
Named Hebe, Hebe, right?
Yeah, with a Trojan. So that's another reason she hates Aeneas and the Trojan race. And then Paris, a Trojan, did not pick her as the most beautiful. So those are all reasons she hates Aeneas that are given. And we're going to learn some more today. The reasons that nec dum exciderant, right? They have not yet fallen from her mind. She's still irritated. But even though it's true that Minerva used Jupiter's lightning bolt to kill Oile and Ajax, that's not one of the reasons that she hates him. So that's why that was the answer.
Sparks a nice little thought in her mind, though. What can I do?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, next question. Who comes to help Aeneas right after he lands in Libya? So, that right after he lands in Libya is important because all of these people potentially could be helping Aeneas at some point in the Aeneid. So, is it Vulcan, Neptune, Cupid, or Venus who comes immediately after he lands in Libya to give
After
him
he
some help?
lands in Libya, not before he lands in Libya, right?
Right, right, right. This timing is crucial on this
Okay.
question. So right after he lands in Libya. And just a reminder, if you're coming in now, you can still join the Kahoot game, kahoot.it, game pin at the bottom, 953.
953-6475.
Thank you for saying it for me because
Yeah.
clearly I cannot say that number today. All
I
right.
realize because of the lag that people have that I have an advantage over everyone. So
It's true.
I'm definitely not trying to win, even if I'm
Okay.
first place right now.
Okay, good. Good, good, good. Oh, people know this question.
Yeah.
That's really good. So this is in the English reading, and it is Venus who comes to visit her son and give him some like insider tips about Carthage when he first lands in Libya. So good job to that. Neptune obviously does help him out before he lands in Libya. Maybe he's not really trying to help Aeneas, but he does calm the seas.
Cupid helps him out maybe kind of later on, but that's like
Right.
way too far. That's not right after he lands.
Exactly. And then off the syllabus, Vulcan in like book 8 makes him some new armor, right? But
Yeah.
none of that is pertinent here.
Oh, I'm
All
still in
right.
first place. Okay. I will get this one wrong.
Okay, sounds good. How is Venus disguised when Aeneas meets her? All right, so this is when she comes to help him. Is she disguised as another goddess? Is she disguised as his best friend? Is she disguised as his childhood nurse or as a Spartan huntress? Those are your 4 options. Yeah, and just a reminder that if you're just coming in, you can still join the Kahoot game. The game pin is at the bottom.
You know the name of his childhood nurse?
Is it Barkay? Did I just make that up?
That's Dido's nurse.
Oh, I knew it was somebody's
Because of
nurse.
Barca, right? Hannibal Barca.
Gotcha.
No, I had a student whose family was from the Italian town of Gaeta,
Oh,
which is along the coast of Italy, and it's the town that Aeneas founds when his nurse Caeta dies at the end of book 6. It's like the last little bit of book 6 is, oh, by the way, his nurse dies, and then the beginning of book 7 is founding this town and stuff. So
okay. That was a good tip for them.
okay, there it has nothing to
But
do with the AP test, but
right, exactly. But they also knew that she was dressed as a Spartan huntress. I love this moment
yes,
when Venus is like, I could dress as anything, but I'm going to dress as a Greek huntress in Africa. So, all right. With whom is Aeneas exploring when he encounters Venus in this moment where she's dressed as a Spartan huntress?
lots of A's here.
So one thing that's challenging, I think, about the AP syllabus are all the A's in the Aeneid. And then also we've got like Ambiorix and lots of A names that come up in De Bello Gallica.
Ariovistus,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. So all the A names are a challenge. So we're going to try to suss them out here with this particular question. And just a reminder, you can still join the Kahoot if you're just joining the live stream today. The game pin's at the bottom. Noem quinque tres, 6 quatuor septem quinque. All right, I think I'm going to call this one a little bit early because it seems
30,
like
that's a lot of people answering. Yeah, 40
I know
answers.
it seems like we've got most of our answers in. So I may call this one now. All right, so this is a challenging one, I think, because of the A names, is my guess. So Aeneas's BFF, Fidus Achates, his faithful Achates is his friend, who goes exploring with him. Now let's go through the other names to make sure you've got them down. Ascanius is the A name for his son. He also goes by Iulus, but Ascanius is one you need to know. And Chryses is his dad. And then Acestes is the king of Sicily that he's just been visiting when he heads to Carthage, right? So those are 3 names. You know, you may want to go back and like take a picture of the screen or something and make sure that you've got those A names straight, because they are a challenge.
A little hint on the Ascanius Iulus. Often, like Virgil uses Iulus when he wants to like point ahead to, because Iulus is where Julius gets their family name, like Julian Gens.
Yeah.
And so
Good
like
point.
he uses Iulus for these future references. So just pay attention to that.
Yeah, Ascanius in the past, Iulus in the future. All right. Where in Carthage does Aeneas see scenes from the Trojan War? So are they at Dido's banquet? Are they on the Temple of Juno? Are they on the Senate House? Or is this question just lying to you and he doesn't actually see scenes from the Trojan War?
That's tricky.
Yeah. So we'll see how we do on this one.
The movie theater where he sees Troy, right?
Right, exactly. Exactly. I should have made that a choice.
Well,
they probably wouldn't pick it because it's maybe not a very
it's not
good
attractive.
distractor.
No, it's not. It's not an attractive distractor.
It is not. Yeah. No, it's not. It's not. So I guess this question is actually twofold. Does he see scenes of the Trojan War in Carthage? And if so, where? All right, it looks like we've gotten most of our answers in, so I think I'm going to call it pretty soon. Maybe I'm just going to let it go. Let it go.
But, we got a lot of people playing today.
Yeah, but don't forget that you can still join with that pin that's at the bottom of the screen if you just started. Okay, you guys, he sees it on the Temple of Juno in Carthage, and most people got that right. That's excellent. He does go to Dido's banquet. He definitely does see these scenes. They make him...
He speaks the scenes of the Trojan War at Dido's banquet.
Right, but he doesn't see them. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is specifically about Aeneid, Book 1. Which palace is mentioned? Okay, so there's
Dido's palace, is that right?
There's lots of there's lots of palaces in mythology, and I'm not talking about the English word Palace. It's not misspelled, kids. So
which is related, though, etymologically, is related to a palace name in the Aeneid, though, right? Because palace gives us the Palatium, the Palatine Hill, right?
Oh, which, yes.
And then that gives us the building palace. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you're totally right. It all is tied together, which may have just been a clue for them. But there are a lot of palaces in mythology. So is this Dido's former husband? Is it the goddess of wisdom? Is it a nymph, or is it a son of Evander? And don't forget, if you just joined, you can still get into the Kahoot at the bottom, 953-6475.
Hopefully I didn't lead people in the wrong direction.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. All right. Yes. So okay, good. This is Pallas Minerva, who comes up in Book 1. We already talked about this, how she, dispatched Oily and Ajax. The son of Evander, which some of you chose, does come up in the Aeneid, but not until the second half of the Aeneid. And that's the one that gives us the name for the Palatine Hill and all of that stuff. All right. Who gives a prophecy in Book 1? Which of these people gives a prophecy in Book 1? Is it Dido? Is it Venus? Is it Jupiter? Or is it Aeolus? And if you're just joining, you can still join the Kahoot, 953-6475. There's lots of good prophecy in the Aeneid, but
this one's kind of it's good. It sets the scene, but there's some question as to whether he's lying to Venus because he says things that are contradicted later on in the Aeneid. And so maybe he's like sugarcoating stuff just to placate her. It's one of those times in the Aeneid where you read it and you're like, okay, great, and then you go back and you read it a second time and you pay attention to the details a little bit more, and you're like, hey, wait a second, like.
Yeah. So, all right. I think we've gotten all the answers in. Okay. So the person who gives a prophecy in the Aeneid, Book 1, is Jupiter. So most of you got that, but it was close. We weren't sure about Dido. Dido, I don't think gives any prophecy, but Jupiter certainly does, and he gives it to Venus because he's trying to settle her down. And she's pretty upset. So that's what we were just talking about. Maybe he was just saying things to make her feel better. All right, last question on this one before we get into today's lesson. Who is sent to Carthage to help Aeneas in Book 1? Is it Neptune, Venus, Cupid, or Mercury? And so notice it's the is sent, okay? So they didn't make the decision to go. this person or people or God or goddess.
It's book
They
1,
were
right? Book 1.
sent by someone else in book 1.
Book
Yeah.
1. Okay, now book 4.
Not book 4, definitely in book 1. So we're getting lots of answers in. I wonder if it's because they think that we're giving them clues. It's hard to know.
Not book 6, right? That's not book 12.
All right. Okay, I think I'm going to cut it off at 15. Actually, I didn't because we're still getting answers in, but I'm going to cut it off soon. All right, let's see how we did. Okay, good. The majority of answers were in the 2 people who get sent to Carthage to help Aeneas in book 1. Mercury is sent by Jupiter after he gives that prophecy and kind of settles Venus down. And then later on, we talked about how Cupid is sent by Venus to the banquet to make sure that Dido falls in love with Aeneas. So good job to everybody. I think you probably know if you are on top, but it's so hard not to show the animations because they're just so cute and clever. So I'll do it really fast.
Who won? It's a hero crab.
Yeah, I think he was ahead the whole time.
It could be a
well,
she.
it could be a she. Yeah, exactly. It's hard to know.
Hopefully it's not a Latin teacher though. So
yeah, I mean, hopefully they're letting the kids play. All right.
I hope so. I didn't come anywhere close. So
all right. So Lucy Mus Kahoot. We played Kahoot.
We did, yes.
Good,
okay.
Perfect tense. All right. Just a reminder, this is the AP Latin live stream. I'm Jenny Luongo. I teach at St. Andrews in Austin, Texas. You can tweet at me anytime during this session if you have questions or afterwards at Parwa Luongo. And
yeah, I'm Ben Johnson. I teach at Hamden Academy in Hamden, Maine, where it's finally not snowing. And you can tweet at me at Latin Tutorial if you'd like. So, and feel free to try if you have questions or something. Like we'll be checking Twitter during this live stream. Maybe we might not get it if you're close to the end, or if we can't fit in like a little shout out or an answer a question. But we'll try to do our best and maybe even respond on Twitter instead. So I think that we had some homework for you guys. This was from De Bello Gallico 1.7, which we did yesterday. This is that Caesar passage thinking about like his motivations for why he needs to prevent the Helvetians from going through the province, and how he deals with that. So the first question that so you can get your homework out. The first question that we have is translating in context the phrase memoria tenebat, and that memoria is ablative. He was holding in his memory. You could even maybe go with like he was remembering or something like that, and introduces this discussion about this consul and his army being defeated by the Helvetians and then sent under the yoke, which is question 2. Under what circumstances in war does the ritual indicated by the phrase sub jugum missum occur? And so this would be after a defeat, soldiers would be forced to walk under the yoke and be humiliated, having to bow down in front of a victorious army, because you can't actually get underneath the yoke without bowing down. There's also some thought that you're exposing the back of your neck, which is also a sign of subjugation and deference, because you're allowing the enemy to possibly attack you at that point. You're completely defenseless. Question 3, translate data facultate and identify the grammatical construction. So this is that ablative absolute that we keep telling you about, especially in Caesar, and with the opportunity given. So facultas is opportunity, and data comes from dodare.
All right, let's continue on with the question. So according to lines 2 through 4, neque homines through existimabat, why did Caesar not want to grant the Helvetians' request? So he says that he didn't think that this people, these men, homines inimici animo, with an unfriendly spirit, Temperaturos would refrain ab injuria et maleficio, from injury and wrongdoing as they were going per provinciam, through the province. Number 5, according to lines 4 through 5, why does Caesar want a delay? He wants to wait. He tells them he needs a day, ut spatium intercere posset, so that a time period was able to pass dum milites while his soldiers convenierent, were gathering together. And then later in book 6, in book 1, this is number 6, later in book 1, where does Caesar send the Helvetians after he defeats them? And so this is after he defeats them, they suffer huge losses. He sends them back to those towns and villages that they burned. So that must have been
A lot fewer,
rough.
actually, too. Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
fewer
many
of them.
fewer. They suffered huge losses in that. So a sad story, but
Hey, I have
that's
someone tweeted at me.
oh cool. What'd they
Yeah, they
say?
asked a question. They wanted to know if we have power in Maine. Yeah, we got power back on Saturday, fortunately. But I have teacher friends that just got it back today. So I mean, that's what happens when you live in the woods, for the most part. So
You can
yeah,
tell because Ben has his lights on in the
yeah,
live stream today. So that's exciting. All
we're not
right.
worried about running out of daylight.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so today we're going to do the first 49 lines of the Aeneid. In book 1, I sing of arms and the man. There's some really famous bits here. It's really important, especially when it comes to like establishing themes and everything, and maybe characters, although we'll talk about that. So we will kind of expect that you've already done this, because this is review, and we're in review a couple of weeks away from the AP test. Talk about characters, talk about themes for his work, all that fun stuff will come up.
And you can find lots of information from us in the bit.ly/AP Latin YouTube resource folder. You might want to have out a way to make notes and maybe your textbook. It's good to start practicing with those notes in your textbook, since you guys are about to take an open note, open textbook exam. And then you might also want to consider having the text printed out maybe in some form so that you can make notes on it. All right. So we're going to start today. We said we were going to do the Arma Virum Quaecano, but you'll notice we're not starting there.
Gotta mix it up, right?
Exactly. That's actually going to be your learning opportunity. And we thought that you guys were so familiar with that you could review that on your own during your homework tonight. So we're going to look at this second part that starts with Urbs Antiqua Fuit, there was an ancient city. And so number 1 for this set of questions is, what case is Carthago? In line 13. Number 2, what 2-word phrase is used here to illustrate Carthage's wealth? Number 3, what's the case and use of terris omnibus in line 15? Number 4, how would you translate qua in line 18 from this passage? Notice that that's in orange for you, as are most of these things. And number 5, what Latin noun in lines 17 and 18? So those are the last 2 lines. Which one refers to Carthage? All right, we'll give you a few minutes of awkward wait time.
There's some hint for number 3. Check out the Magus, right? That's a good hint for number 3.
Oh yeah, that is a really good hint. We've had lots of questions, both on Twitter and in other places about ablatives, and we will continue to emphasize those, and we'll work on a lesson where we kind of consolidate our knowledge.
And for 4th, look at the C, right?
Yes.
Okay,
All
let's
right.
go to the answers. Here we go.
Okay, so number 1, the case of Carthago, it is nominative. Remember, like
But it ends in
Leo.
an O, though, right?
Yes, like Leo, there are lots of third declension nouns that end in O, so be careful about them. That's the nominative
Imago, right?
subject.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 2, what 2-word phrase is used here to illustrate Carthage's wealth? Dives opum in line 14. Carthage is described as dives opum, rich in resources, studiis quasperrima belli, and very harsh in the pursuits of war. So remember being precise about picking just the 2 words you need. Number 3, the case and use of terris omnibus in line 15. So Juno is said, Coluisse, to have cherished it, magis terris omnibus, more than all the lands. So that's an ablative of comparison, and knowing that the magus is comparative is an important part of recognizing that one. All right, we've got this phrase, si qua fata sinant. If the fates should allow it, qua, in any way. And so I always tell my students they just need to learn that qua stands there for ali qua via or in ali qua via, and they just need to learn that idiom.
And after si nisi numene, right? Allie
right? All
takes a
the,
holiday.
yeah, exactly.
All the alleys go away.
Exactly. They
Okay.
take a hike. And number 5, what Latin noun in those last 2 lines refers to Carthage? So we learn, starting just above that, hic ilias arma, here were her weapons, hic curus fuit, here was her chariot. And the goddess was both intending foetque and cherishing this, but she was intending that it be a regnum, a kingdom gentibus for her peoples. So regnum is the word we were looking for. All right, Ben, you want to go over the next section with them?
So yeah, this is 19 through 28. So we are not skipping any lines here, but we're going to learn a little bit about the reasons for her hatred of the Trojans. So let's look at some of these questions. What form is duki in line 19? It's always important because it's one of those, this one especially is ambiguous because it could be a noun, it could be a verb. What is the case in use of exgideo in line 22? It's a very special and well-known use of this. What word in lines 19 to 22 refers to the action of foretelling the future? What case is id in line 23, which is ambiguous? And with what 2 nouns can rapti in line 28 agree? Again, some of these aren't necessarily like clear as to what they are. You have to understand the Latin, and that's kind of important when you have ambiguous forms here.
So Ben, we made you say dookie. That's
That's
what my
why
students,
you wanted me to do this slide, right?
yeah, that's what my students always say. On
I'm going to
number,
do the ones about the ships too, aren't I?
right, exactly. We're gonna assign those all to you. All of
Okay.
the poopes are yours. This question number 3, the action of foretelling the future. Hopefully they're looking for a verb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. The form of duki in line 19, that's a present passive infinitive. So she had heard audierat, that's a syncopated pluperfect, that, and we're in indirect statement here, that a progeny, an offspring, was being led out, duki was being led from Trojan blood. These would be the future Romans who would overturn Carthage. And that's a relative purpose clause there, kind of a famous one too. And these Romans, in fact, are described as late regem and bello superbum, so ruling broadly and then arrogant in war. And that arrogant term, if you remember the end of book 6, that superbum, like that's kind of a loaded adjective there that Virgil decides to use for the Romans here. Also note that like those 2 phrases kind of resemble how Virgil just described Carthage too. The case in use of excidio in line 22, that this people would come for the destruction for Libya, or to destroy Libya. This is a double dative, where the excidio is the dative of purpose and Libyae is the dative of reference. And so it's kind of nice to see that. It's tough to see this in context, but this is kind of one of those famous ones because it occurs early in the Aeneid. So in lines 19 through 22, the action of foretelling the future is this infinitive wolvere. Thus she had heard that the fates were unraveling, where that unraveling is the unraveling the scrolls of the future. Prophecy and stuff. So we got id metuanes, fearing this, and because it's fearing this, and this is Juno who's doing the action. Id here is the accusative case, and it's the object of metuanes. So Juno is also thinking about the Trojan War, and the causes of her rage and her savage Greece had not yet, nectum exciderant, had not yet fallen from her mind. And so a bunch of things were staying there deep in her mind, and that's the Judicium Paradis, the judgment of Paris, and the injuria, this insult of her scorned beauty, which is the judgment of Paris, where Paris chose to give the golden apple to Venus, not to Minerva or Juno. Also, this Ganus in Wisum, she hates the Trojans because the Trojan race is descended from one of Jupiter's adulteries, the
Yeah,
product of one of his adulteries, yeah.
with Electra, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so then we're left with also, we talked about Ganymede and how Ganymede has replaced Hebe as the cupbearer of the gods. And this rapti is ambiguous. It could go with Ganymedes, it could be genitive singular, or it could be nominative plural, and goes with honores, either the snatched up honors of Ganymede or the honors of snatched up Ganymede, since Ganymede was snatched up by Jupiter in the guise of an eagle. And for this, I would say it probably goes with both, which technically doesn't work, but I'm sure that that's how Virgil intended it. Ambiguity is good.
I feel that way too. He
Yeah.
does these ambiguous things often enough that you think, oh my goodness, he's just so smart.
It's like Schrodinger's Latin, right? Something
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. All right. So we're going to look at this next section as the Trojans are leaving Sicily. We learned that she is his acensa super. She's inflamed even more by these things. And so what does she do? Well, number one, how would you translate latio in line 31? And there's a reason that archebot longe latio are all orange together, because looking at it in context is important. And we've talked about the precision of picking 1 or 2 words or 3 words, whatever you're instructed to do. So we've got lots of practice with that here. So what 2 words tell us that the Trojans were not in control of their travels is number 2. Number 3, what 2 words tell you it was a challenge to found Rome? Number 4, what 1 word tells you how the Trojans were feeling at this time? And number 5, what 2 adjectives describe Juno in this section? All right, we'll give you some time to think.
Can I tell you something? This is okay. So if you look at line 37, right, Juno's first words are mene and in kepto, but there's an
I know what
elision
you're going to
between
tell
those,
me.
right? There's an elision
Yeah.
there. So it's main in kepto. And if you know your Greek, mainen is the beginning
Anger.
of, right, of the Iliad. It's the first line, first word of the Iliad, and it means anger, rage, which is really what Juno's feeling here. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Super cool.
That's like a bilingual
Yeah,
Latin
exactly.
pun and so forth. Okay, here we go.
All right. So we told you to look at archebot longe latio together. So she was keeping Troias, the Trojans, longe latio, far from Latium. That's an ablative of separation. Number 2, what 2 words tell us that the Trojans were not in control of their travels? So again, when I first looked at this, I was like, well, they were iactatos aequore toto. They were tossed on the whole sea, but that's 3 words. So I needed to keep searching to find the acti fatis. They were driven by fates. They weren't in control. Then there's this great exclamation in line 33, tantai mollis erat, of such a great difficulty it was Romanum condere gentem to found the Roman race. So tantai mollis tells us what a challenge it was.
That's like Virgil's thesis statement, right? It
Yeah,
feels at the end
exactly.
of the beginning, at the end of the intro. Yeah.
Exactly. Number 4, what 1 word tells us how the Trojans were feeling at this time? Well, they were weeks a conspectu, hardly out of sight, siculae tellurus of the Sicilian land, and lighty, the happy ones, well adavant, they were spreading their sails, they were taking off, so they were lighty. And then number 5, what 2 adjectives in this section describe Juno? So I mentioned Acensa, she is inflamed. And then at the end in that exclamatory question that Ben was just pointing out to us, she says, main in kepto de sistere victam. Am I victam, having been conquered, to stop from what I've started in kepto? So victam is how she describes herself. Poor thing. And she says, am I not able, vertere, to turn regem to Crorum, the king of the Trojans, from Italy? Ah, poor thing. All right. So you guys, we are going
what
to
is this?
do.
We have 2 things in this.
I know. So interactive today. So if you guys will go ahead and get your devices ready, we're going to do the last lines with a pair deck. We've got a couple slides for you. So Ben, if you'll pull your screen down, I will get mine going. Here we go. All right. So you'll go to joinpd.com. And then you'll just type in 5 letters, not that numbers, man. That whole string of numbers was giving me so much trouble today. So UMKLG is what you're typing in. Joinpd.com and then UMKLG, which stands for, according to this, Underwhelmed muffins keep lovely grapes. So
I wonder what Pear Deck does with that. How are you feeling today? Intro thing. I mean, what
yeah,
data are they collecting on us?
I think that actually the teachers can look at that.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, I'm so busy these days with like teaching my classes and teaching this that I'm glad somebody's asking, but I just haven't had time to take a
that's
look
true.
at how people are doing. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Just a reminder that even after we get started, you can still go to joinpd.com and UMKLG to join in the fun. And this is going to be fun because again, we're dragging dots. So we've got this next section of the Aeneid, and what we want you to do is to drag your green dot to a chiasmus, drag your orange dot to a word in the genitive case, and then put your purple dot on an ablative of means. All right, I'll give people a few more seconds to kind of get their
Oh, geez. Okay, there it is. Okay.
their dots
Yeah,
headed
I
around.
have my dots.
Okay, good. All right. So I'm seeing that a lot of green dots are headed toward that transfixo pectore flammas, expirantem transficto pectore flammas. I would definitely count that as a chiasmus. How are you feeling about that one? Yeah, I think that one's good. It looks like we've got some green dots on that disiecit que rates avertit que iquora, which is really more of a synthesis. So there are so many orange dots on some of these words that I can't even read them. So I'm going to come off of them just a minute.
You don't have this memorized, this passage memorized?
So I told you I'm working on memorizing the Aeneid, but I haven't gotten, this is like just past where I've gotten. So one of the things that you might have an orange dot on is the Iowisque, and another one is the Eunonisque. Am I missing a genitive, Ben?
What about Dewum?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Dewum. Yeah, exactly. So, Regina Dewum, is that right? The queen of the gods? Is that what goes together?
Yep.
And then she's both sister and wife, Iois of Jupiter.
Sister wife, yeah.
Yeah, and then she's also worried at the end that no one is going to worship the Numen Eunonis, the spirit of Juno anymore. And then I see so many dots, but I do have this part kind of memorized. There are so many dots over Wentis.
That's what I chose.
She's asking like if Pallas was able to do all of these things and to overturn the seas, Wentis, with winds.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, she really wants to do that. And then I see that people have their purple dots on Corripuit. She snatched him up in a whirlpool.
Turbine,
Yeah, that also works. I see a lot of dots down here on Gero, which is not an ablative of means. That means I wage. She's complaining because she says, I wage war, tot annos, for so many years. Let's go to the next slide. We're still looking at the same passage. Now we want you to place the yellow dot on an ablative of accompaniment. We want to place the blue dot on a perfect tense verb. And we want to place the gray dot on a future tense verb. Oh, that's a good one. I like that. I like that.
There's only one, right?
I think there is only one. So
And
I
there's
just
the
need to
textual variants too. So
yeah. All right, let's see how we're doing on this just because we're running low on time. Okay, so the yellow dot on the ablative of accompaniment. Oh, look how well they're doing. We've talked about ablative of accompaniment a lot. You need to go towards the
find
cum.
the cum, right?
Una cum gente. She wages wars, bella, tot annos, for so many years. That's an accusative duration of time. Una cum gente. With one family, with one race. Poor Juno. I feel bad for her. All right.
We have a tweet from Lauren Dill, who I think you know.
Yes,
Says
my co-teacher.
Says the struggle is real, Juno.
Yes, it's so true.
Okay.
It's so true.
Juno,
Okay.
that, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Ego schio. I know, Juno. I feel your pain. All right. So the blue dot on a perfect tense verb. I see a lot of blue dots on disjecit. Yeah, she both scattered rates their ships. Avertitque, another blue dot could go there. And she overturned the seas with winds. She corripuit, she snatched him up, turbine, in a whirlpool. That's also a perfect tense verb. You guys are doing great. I think in fixit, scopulo quin fixit acuto, do I have that part memorized? Yeah, she placed him, she fixed him on a sharp rock.
Yikes.
And then our gray dots are congested down at the bottom. The one future tense verb here is imponent. She asks, or will any
Yes, they have.
suppliant place an offering aris on my altars? Ah, poor
They
Juno.
have put those. They have imponents. They have imponents. They're gray
Yes,
dots on imponent.
yes,
Yeah.
they have. They
It's
have.
that
Okay.
E in imponent that really tells us, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. For BOBIBU in 1 and 2, A and E in 4 and 3. So because adorat is actually first conjugation, that is not future tense. So she says, is anyone worshiping the spirit of Juno after this situation? All right. So a few minutes to finish up, Ben, if you want to put up the PowerPoint again. They did really well on that pair deck.
So something that we want you guys to think about for the next live stream are what major themes that Virgil introduces in the beginning lines of the Aeneid. Like in some ways, like talking about how line 33, that tantai molus line, is kind of like his thesis statement. Like he brings up so many of the things that he's going to talk about, just like any good writer would in the rest of his work. And so we can pull those apart and let's see what the important bits are. So think about that. And we'll talk about at the beginning of the next live stream, which is going to be tomorrow. Same Latin time, same Latin channel, right? 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. So here is your exam practice. We told you do the first 11 lines, and so here it is. He does tell us quite a lot about this man, this Wiram, the second word in the Aeneid, even though he doesn't name him. And that's something that's kind of interesting. It's going to take a while before we find out who this man is. But he does tell us a lot about him. So give 5 phrases, 2 to 4 words that describe him and point ahead to different parts of the story. Do it in Latin and then tell us what it means in English.
Yeah, it's going to take him some time, but it's not going to take us much time to get to his name because we are doing like 50 lines a day in these review sessions.
Actually, yeah, I don't think we get to it next live stream.
It may be the one after.
I think, yeah, we're saving it for
see.
Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It won't be too long though. So in your resource folder at bit.ly/AP Latin YouTube, there, as always, is your exam practice, lots of different closed translations, links for lessons, all sorts of things there. You also can send us feedback both on this Padlet through this link, bit.ly/AP Latin or AP Lat Qs. Isn't that clever? And
it's like my workout afterwards.
Right, exactly. And then, of course, you can always tweet at either of us if you have any questions that we can help you with. We've had a request for ablatives. We're going to be working on it, so don't you guys worry.
Yes.
Additionally, if you need better internet access or if you need mobile tools, please be in touch with the College Board for your AP exam, cb.org/tech. All right, we will continue tomorrow, right? With
I hope so.
Book 1. Yeah, exactly. Talking about the themes of the book at the beginning, going
Maybe
over those first few lines.
Learning about the storm that Juno sent to Maine to overwhelm me on my quest to do the AP Latin live stream and everything like that. I mean, the winds here were really bad on Monday. So
yeah, you guys had your seas overturned wentis by the winds.
Juno, whose fault it was, right?
Yes, yes, Juno.
Yeah, okay.
Poor Juno. Oh,
sorry about that, guys.
It's just never gonna stop. All right. All right. We will see you guys tomorrow.
Valete omnes.